All right, all right. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the world you are. So sorry for my delay. Been kind of scrambling and everything like that, dealing with a bunch of other stuff, and just literally got off the line with somebody. Some crazy stuff that's going on with Clop ransomware right now, and we'll get into it a little bit and everything like that. But welcome. Glad to see you all are here. I do know we are simulcasting this thing on Ustream, on YouTube. Ustream. I'm just creating new random companies as I go along here. Well, we are hosting this primarily on Zoom. So if you are able to, definitely go over to webinars.barricadecyber.com and register for it there because we are going to be migrating these things over to primarily the Zoom platform for the first rendition. Because as you can hear in the beginning, I like to play music and YouTube doesn't like that. So Kimberly's got to go in and strip all that stuff out, things of that nature. But anyway, I digress a little bit. But I'm happy to see everybody here. With that said, let's get started. What is going on in the news of ransomware? Funny thing, it's been really interesting. There hasn't been a whole lot, but we're going to kind of go into it, right? First off and foremost, let's get into the stats. What did we see last month in terms of ransomware situations? You know, we got 9,200 total victims with an active 115 groups. This is already, ladies and gentlemen, the TA groups has already gone up like 3 or 4 since we got pulled these stats and got it over to Kimberly to start creating this slide for today's webinar. There's a lot of threat actor groups are definitely going over to the Telegram channels, and we're monitoring all that stuff. So I think we're at 117, maybe at 118 active threat actor groups currently right now that are in the wild. So be mindful. Things are growing, and kind of going from there. So just for the year to date, 572 victims, primarily from the QLin ransomware group. You know how we talked about it last month. The QLin is definitely going to be ramping up a lot of their stuff. We're going to see a lot more of this stuff with the Clop ransomware group starting to take off a little bit. The Clop is definitely interesting because it's really hard to know what their victims are. And trying to get proper numbers of things because they like to play a massive cat and mouse game of they'll put up asterisks and stuff like that and then not really publicize everybody. So it is very, very interesting to see when what actual numbers that Clop is throwing up there. But the numbers that we can track, QLAN at, like I said, 572. Acura is at, so sorry, one of my other chats is literally going off and you guys probably just heard all of that. Let me quit that out of there. I thought I had all my noise boxes silenced. So sorry if I just triggered anybody. Play is at 312 victims. Safe Pay, 554 victims. 343 are by the Inc. Ransom Group and Ransom Hub at 215. These numbers are down. If I remember the metrics correctly from last year. And of course, top countries are impacted. Of course, the United States is the #1 entity that is going to be impacted on these by these threat actor groups. Why? Because we have the largest GDP. Not trying to flex or anything like that, but when you look at the most dollars that you can be able to get from a victim, where are you going to go? Who in the world's got the most money? Arguably, it's the United States. So, we're almost a 10-to-1 to even our closest neighbor of Canada. Just back of the paper, back of the napkin mouth there. Continuing construction being the biggest impact at 341 victims. Construction is definitely an interesting one. Them and manufacturing. The construction, there's a lot of people you could be able to hit in the construction industry. And to be honest with you, ransomware doesn't stop the plow from moving. It doesn't stop the electrician from wiring up the house or the building, right? So, it's interesting to see a lot more construction organizations that are being impacted. But from a DFIR standpoint, especially for a communication standpoint with the threat actor, it's definitely gives us a lot more flexibility because business can go on 9 times out of 10. Um, they'll just limp along a little bit, keep working the job sites that they have, and kind of go forward. So I can tell you, at least from the cases that we worked, having a construction company that was not directly supply chain and did not do a lot of robotics like true blue collar organizations, the plumbers, the HVACs, and things of that nature, that are still doing a lot of stuff that's old school, not using a ton of cloud applications. They can do a lot of stuff still without, the need of a CRM and things of that nature. So, I definitely always want to make sure we talk about this a little bit that the 11 to 50 employees is the number two impacted, right behind the 51 to 200 employee organizations at 1,510 victims for this year. I fully suspect the 51 to 200 to get over 200 or 2,000, probably even to see another 1,000 victims added. We are entering the holiday season for us here in the U.S. So, having the threat actors not on so much of a holiday, this is definitely when they start ramping up. So, and with, like I cued in at the beginning of this, we're definitely seeing some either Clop or I'm going to say not Clop, pretend Clop ransomware group is doing some weird stuff right now. That's definitely not their TTP. But let's talk about what's in the news. Like I kind of mentioned a moment ago, I'll post this here into the Zoom chat so that way you can follow along afterwards if you want to. But Clop has been sending out, or allegedly Clop has been sending out emails to organizations that have been potentially using the Oracle e-business suite. And what this has really been indicating is they are sending these organizations saying, hey, we've got your data. This has been going on for about a week, maybe a little bit longer, not a whole lot. But it's starting to make the rounds now where it's becoming more and more public information. The thing that we don't, what is interesting about this particular claim by multiple facets is, the CLOP is known to go after MFTs, managed file transfers, the Move It breach and everything. It's a managed file transfer platform. And that's typically what CLOP goes after. When CLOP also impacts your organization, they will send 1 to 3 emails a day. But this current scenario, I can't name anybody naturally, but the the people that I am talking to that are very close to the situation and even being, impacted daily by the situation says that the organizations are receiving thousands of emails claiming to be CLOP and demanding a ransomware. And that's definitely not good at all when trying to do proper assertion of who are we dealing with. Is this really CLOP? It definitely doesn't sound like it from everything that we've seen from them in the past 2 years. One other thing to consider, is this a possible play on a threat actor acting as CLOP because of TikTok? I don't know. Not many people are talking about that. And I was thinking about that this morning. Is this because of the alleged possible buy of TikTok by Oracle as the major organization to buy that organization? It's definitely going to be interesting to see this particular situation play out. Um, but you're going to start seeing more and more of these news, you know, launching out, and everybody is already claiming that Klopp is doing it. Nobody is, unfortunately, I think, security week and a lot of these other people, they don't have a CTI, a counter um, intelligence platform to know exactly what are the TTPs. They're not working incident response cases or digesting ones that are being put out publicly into like a CTI platform and tracking this stuff like we are. And, I'm sure Cyber Reason and Kroll and, a bunch of people that I talk to, we track this stuff. It's like when we come into an investigation, we need to be able to refresh our memory. We need to go into the CTI and be like, okay, yep, that threat actor does this, and this. We need to be looking for that. And if we're not seeing that and we're seeing other stuff, that's when our alarms go off. And that's what is going on for me is this one is definitely not, it's not the standard practice that we typically see with the Clop ransomware group. So be wary if you're using Oracle e-business suite, we're not seeing a whole lot from everything that I've been saying or talking to people and getting information. When they're doing their investigation into the Oracle suite, they're not seeing failed logins. They're not seeing compromised accounts. So they're they're clearly getting the information somehow. They've gotten in there. I haven't heard one case so far from everybody I've been talking to where like Bob's Pizza Shack doesn't use Oracle, they use Adobe, but they're getting flooded by Clop saying that they use Oracle. That see what I'm saying? So all of them have been supposedly legitimate organizations using the Oracle e-business suite software, but how they got in is yet to be determined. Also, with that, in the big news that you're going to start seeing is we started seeing this. Let me actually move this one to the end here. So we got privy to a new threat actor group called Crimson. Let me pull that up one more time. Over here in my CTI. Crimson Collective. I knew there was another word for it. They've been around for about 2 weeks, roughly. By the time I was able to find or somebody showed me their Telegram channel, we started getting in there. These folks are, posting, they took care of or they got Red Hat. They've been trying to get in touch with them for a while. Um, if you're on Telegram, I'm assuming a lot of the people that are on here are in that circle. So, excuse me. So sorry. Um, so definitely go in there and check that out. If you're in the CTI, you're in the DFIR space and you're wanting to keep track of them, that's our channel. Um, but apparently they've got everything there. The interesting thing about these guys, people have heard of Pastebin and stuff like that. This is the first time, and these guys may have been around for a very, very long time. I don't know. But either I did not know about this site or I am just learning of paste.to, and they are literally pumping out their file tree to paste.to. So one thing you can do for your Intel feeds is start monitoring paste.to for potential your company name, right? So sorry, excuse me. Sorry about that. I got a little tickle or something. I'm not sure what's going on. But if you are a Starbucks, or you're dealing with Starbucks or something like that, you may have your searches doing that for, Starbucks and things like that, and keeping a track of things that are being put in the public space about it. Well, since we've seen that, Believing Computer posted this where Red Hat has now confirmed a security incident after hackers breached GitLab instances. And this really opens up a broader conversation that people need to start having inside of your organization. And really, I know the cloud is the best thing on, planet Earth, and everybody loves using the cloud. Heck, I use the cloud a lot myself, but when are organizations going to start saying, we don't need to have everything in the cloud, or stop putting every piece of information that we have on every separate thing in the cloud, right? The biggest thing that drives, incident responders crazy literally is, one of the first things that we do when we come into a response, where's your data? Literally, where's all of your data? Yeah, we know your file server over here is impacted, but where's the rest of your data? Where is it sitting at? Because we got to go investigate that too, right? And you know, I I don't know. It really does open up a lot of questions that people need to start having conversations with. Um, but with that, that's kind of the end of it. Like I said, it's kind of cut through kind of fast a little bit. There's not been a whole lot. Things have been kind of crazy, but we do have where we do go into a little bit of a broader topic. If you're new to this and you really want more cybersecurity information, not just ransomware like we kind of talk about here, and kind of what the latest stuff is that you should be keeping an eye on, and kind of the numbers and the figures. If you want brutally honest security conversations, aka the plug here, definitely go check out Brutally Honest Security podcast. It is a true podcast, so you can go over to your podcast of choice, your Apple or Google Play Store or whatever, Spotify, even on YouTube, and look up the Brutally Honest Security. We got 2 episodes dropped right now, and I have these brutally honest conversations with folks about what exactly is going on and how you should be thinking about these things, and better yet, how to start securing yourself in a lot of these conversations. So if that is of interest of you, definitely go look over there and check that thing out. And again, all of our webinars are on webinars.barricadecyber.com, where we are talking about this. And we are still throughout the rest of the year and going into the beginning of next year, talking about the Fortify 365. If you're curious on how to, start with what we do as a phase one for all of our clients, and I did say that right, a phase one of securing the Microsoft 365 tenant. Definitely go check out that series. I do believe when you register for it, you can get access to all the previous ones. I do have one that I got to re-record because we were having some major Zoom issues. So I'm hoping to get that taken care of this weekend. So those who've been waiting on there, definitely check that out. And with that, thank y'all so much for attending. I greatly appreciate it. I know these things are really, really small and really compact. But definitely let us know in the comments. Definitely let us know in YouTube, things of that nature. Are we diving enough into it? What topics around ransomware do you want to hear about? We want to make sure this thing is very, very informative for you. So while it may be boring to I look at some stories, I'm like, people are not going to want to listen to that or whatever. But this may be stuff that you want to hear about. So definitely tell us topics and ideas that you want us to make sure we are covering. But again, this is more of numbers and um, things of that nature and what is the latest things that we're seeing in the ransomware space. And that's kind of what it is. So if you want it to be longer, a little bit more in depth, let me know that as well. And with that, thank y'all so much. Tune in next week, or tune in next. See you next month on yet another Ransomware Monthly update. My name is Eric Taylor, and we'll take care. Y'all take care. I'm so full of it. See y'all. Be curious, my friends.